In Lagos, they say love can survive traffic, poverty, and distance. But nobody warns you about the kind of love that destroys a man slowly, the love that pulls him in two directions until he no longer recognizes himself. This is the story of Kunle Adeyemi, a man who loved his wife deeply, honored his family sincerely, and still lost peace in his own home. Not because he loved wrongly, but because he did not know how to love them separately. Kunle met Ifeoma in the city, far away from family influence and village expectations. She was outspoken, stylish, and fiercely independent. Kunle admired her confidence and promised himself that marriage would never cage her the way society cages women. When they married and moved into their Lekki apartment, Kunle gave her complete freedom to go out when she wished, return whenever she pleased, and live life on her own terms. Sometimes Ifeoma returned home late at night, sometimes at dawn. Kunle never questioned her. Other times, after a long day at work, she would ask Kunle to cook while she stepped out again. Kunle would loosen his tie, enter the kitchen, and cook with love. They often bought food from restaurants because Ifeoma said she was tired or uninspired to cook. Kunle did not complain. To him, love meant sacrifice, and sacrifice meant silence. Kunle believed he had found the perfect balance. He was proud of being called a modern husband by his friends. He washed dishes, cleaned the house, and handled chores without bitterness. Whenever anyone hinted that his wife was doing too little, Kunle defended her passionately. He believed protecting his wife was the mark of a real man. What Kunle did not notice was how his silence slowly erased boundaries. Ifeoma grew comfortable, then careless, then entitled. Love, when unguarded, can quietly turn into permission. Kunle did not see it then, but the seeds of future conflict were already planted in the comfort he created. Trouble entered the marriage the day Kunle's mother, Mama Adeyemi, came to Lagos for medical treatment. She was a strong woman from Ibadan, vocal, traditional, and deeply opinionated. When she arrived at the apartment, she admired the furniture and the neighborhood, but her face tightened as she observed the household routine. Mama Adeyemi noticed the pile of dishes in the sink and the takeout packs on the table. She watched her son mop the floor while Ifeoma relaxed on the couch watching television. From that moment, she began to talk, loudly and often. She complained about the time Ifeoma returned home, the kind of food they ate, and the fact that food bought outside was sometimes served to her. In her mind, she was correcting errors. In reality, she was crossing invisible lines. Mama Adeyemi did not whisper her concerns. She complained in the morning, in the afternoon, and sometimes late at night. She questioned Ifeoma's movements, criticized her cooking, even when she did not cook, and reminded Kunle constantly that a wife had duties. Some of her words were rooted in culture, but many were sharpened by control. Ifeoma endured it at first, biting her tongue and rolling her eyes. But resentment grew. She felt watched, judged, and disrespected in her own home. Kunle tried to calm both sides, telling his mother to understand city life, and telling his wife to just manage more. What he thought was peacemaking was actually avoidance. One evening, Mama Adeyemi complained loudly about food bought from a restaurant and accused Ifeoma of laziness. The words were sharp, unnecessary, and humiliating. Ifeoma snapped. She told her mother-in-law that this was not her house and that marriage did not make her a servant. The room froze. Kunle stood between them, confused and shaking. Instead of correcting either side firmly, he apologized on behalf of everyone. He told his mother that Ifeoma was stressed and told Ifeoma that his mother meant well. Nobody felt defended. Everybody felt hurt. That was the day Kunle began to lose control of his own home. As tension grew, Ifeoma withdrew from housework entirely. Mama Adeyemi, angered and stubborn, decided to cook and clean for her son. She swept the compound, washed clothes, and cooked meals. Ifeoma sat outside reading magazines or scrolling on her phone, refusing to acknowledge the silent protest happening around her. Connor watched this daily drama with a heavy heart. He loved his wife and felt she was being suffocated. He loved his mother and felt she was being disrespected. He said nothing strong enough to stop either behavior. Silence became his language, and silence fed the chaos. Things escalated when Connor's younger sister, Bisola, returned from university and came to visit. She was shocked by what she saw. Her mother working like a housemaid and her brother shrinking into himself. Bisola confronted Ifeoma, demanding respect for their mother. Ifeoma responded with sarcasm and cruelty, telling Bisola to focus on finishing school and finding a husband. When Connor returned home and heard about the confrontation, he shocked everyone by scolding his sister instead of his wife. That moment broke something inside Mama Adeyemi and Bisola. They realized Connor's love had become fear. The incident that finally shattered the fragile peace happened on a quiet afternoon. There was no food in the house that day. Connor had left early for work, trusting that the adults in the house would manage themselves. Mama Adeyemi had complained all morning about hunger, about Ifeoma's laziness, about how a woman could sit comfortably while elders suffered. Her voice carried through the house like thunder without rain. Outside, in the garden, Ifeoma sat calmly on a chair, polishing her nails under the sun, earphones in her ears, completely detached from the noise inside. Something snapped in Mama Adeyemi. In a fit of anger, she stormed outside with a bowl of water and poured it on Ifeoma's head. The water drenched her hair, her clothes, her dignity. Shock turned instantly into rage. Before anyone could intervene, Ifeoma stood up and slapped her mother-in-law across the face. That slap summoned chaos. Bisola rushed in, screaming, and attacked Ifeoma in defense of her mother. The garden became a battlefield of shouting, pushing, and crying. By the time neighbors gathered at the gate, Ifeoma had been dragged out of the compound and the gate slammed shut behind her. When Connor returned later that evening, the house was silent, but his life was already in ruins. Connor went to Ifeoma's family house, exhausted and broken. They were confused and alarmed. Ifeoma had not come to them. Fear replaced anger. Connor realized for the first time that his silence had allowed things to grow beyond control. A week later, fate intervened when Connor met Ifeoma's best friend at a supermarket. He poured out his heart, confessing that despite everything, he still loved his wife. Moved by his pain, the friend revealed the truth and led him to where Ifeoma was staying. When Connor finally met Ifeoma, she was calm but distant. She said she needed peace of mind and space to heal. She told Connor she would only return to the marriage if his mother and sister left the house. Her words were firm, not emotional. Connor agreed immediately. Love spoke louder than wisdom again. But this time, his heart was heavier. He knew he was about to wound someone deeply, and that someone was the woman who gave birth to him. Connor knelt before his mother and begged. He told her he loved her and appreciated her sacrifices. He admitted that her constant interference had harmed his marriage, but he also confessed that his silence had caused everything. He begged her to give him space to fix his home. Mama Adeyemi cried. Not because she hated Ifeoma, but because she realized she had lost control of her son. Bisola remained silent. That day, Connor learned that love does not always mean closeness, sometimes it means distance. When Connor finally reunited with Ifeoma and listened to her pain, he understood something he had ignored for too long: love without boundaries becomes destruction. Ifeoma agreed to return home, but this time, Connor did not rush blindly. He went back to his mother and sister, not with anger, but with clarity. He told them the truth, that their interference, no matter how well-intended, had crossed lines and poisoned his marriage. With a heavy heart, Connor arranged for his mother and sister to return to the village temporarily. He promised them something different, not rejection, but structure. He assured them that when they returned to the city, he would get them their own place nearby, so love could remain without control, and respect could exist without daily friction. Mama Adeyemi cried, not out of hatred, but out of the pain of learning that motherhood must evolve. The marriage did not magically heal overnight. But for the first time, Connor stood as a man, not a child torn between two powerful women. He learned that loving a wife does not mean abandoning family, and honoring family does not mean sacrificing a marriage. In the city, people still talked about the scandal, the slap, the water, the fight, but they talked even more about the lesson. Because wisdom teaches this. A man must build boundaries, not walls. A wife must practice respect, not rebellion. A mother must guide, not govern. And only when love learns its proper place can a home finally breathe.